Welcome to Crescent City with your hosts Natalie Jean and Jackie Zabrowski.
With some lube, some talking lube.
Talking lube. We're not talking lube today.
No, unfortunately, not lube time.
No.
She really edges you in this series. A lot of edging happens.
I mean,
I'm saying, woo, that's a lot of edging. Like, it makes me feel like I'm gonna go insane.
I know, but by the time you get it, man, black hole, son, won't you come?
What's the black hole are you referencing?
Depends. Depends on what you're searching for. You're welcome.
Okay.
Sometimes, man, you just got to throw it out there, you know? You just got to think about the Black Hole Sun music video that we were all
Traumatized
forced to watch.
Yeah, traumatized
over and over and over. Traumatized, though, really.
That scared you, right, as a kid? That video scared the crap out of me.
I guess, you know what it was? I think that, like, I was so drawn to it, and I realize now, sexually, I was very drawn to it.
The faces, like the big faces that stretch out.
I think that's where my monster fuckery began. I don't know. Maybe I've been trying to find the origins of, my sexual tingles. Mm-hmm. And it's, that's something for a therapist to get in there and
sexual
excavate. Philanthropy. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's share my goodwill. It's not.
That's not the right word.
I was going to go with it, though, and I'm here to yes and you, Natalie, forever and ever.
Sexual excavation?
Sure. Escapades. I'll take
it. What's it called when they dig up dinosaur bones? What's the person called?
Grunge them out. A grunger.
No.
Indiana Jones. Archaeologist. Thank you.
Sexual. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. The word is archaeologist.
Sexual archaeologist.
I mean, again, is that not Indiana Jones?
Well, it makes me think of Jurassic Park, and they're both very sexy in that movie. And no, there's multiple sexy people.
Are we really sleeping on wanting to bang archaeologists? Or I guess people love Indiana Jones, I'm fairly new to Indiana Jones, so.
You are?
Yeah, I watched it for the first time during quarantine.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd never seen it before, and I was like, wow, these are really good. But then I remember doing Indiana Jones and Star Wars back to back. And I
choose Indiana Jones every time.
Yeah, wow.
Sorry.
Because, I had never seen Star Wars before either, and I was like, I know the story. I kind of got bored.
Both series, great dark rides. If you're a dark ride fan.
Oh,
both
yeah.
series.
That and the Indiana Jones show. I don't know if they still do that, right? The Indiana Jones show.
I think they do.
Do they? With the ball? It was there a few years ago. Hell yes. Yes.
Just in Florida, I think, not here.
And I always wanted to, because I remember they'd had like a Full House episode where they watch it and she keeps seeing her boyfriend everywhere and she thinks she sees Steve as Indiana Jones. But then I realize I'm also very sexually attracted to every like off-center Indiana Jones that they would get to play Indiana Jones at the Universal.
Oh, yeah. Way more than Steve. Ugh.
Yeah, man. Steve. Wasn't it Kirk Cameron?
No, Kirk Cameron. That would be weird if she was dating her brother on the show.
Yeah, it should be.
No, that wasn't her brother.
I would be like, whoa, you both want to, you're both successful. Put them together. Everybody always is confused whether or not I'm Henry's wife or his sister.
Oh, God, yeah, that's true.
And it is difficult to say that to his wife.
Yeah. They get us confused sometimes. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say we got to start this episode, but they did a marketing. It was ABC in the 90s. Disney did a marketing promotion
with the step by step and everything with all the crossovers.
Roseanne,
yes.
It was step by step.
Yes.
It was Full House. And did it ever work on me? Because I'm a theme park adult, and I blame them.
Yeah, I was about to say you hate Disney as well, but I forget you love Disney.
I love parks.
You love. I see. It's just there are not enough thrill rides. I need more thrill.
I do love a thrill ride too. You're right. All right. You know what?
You
know what else?
We had to get our talkies out.
I'm ready for some sunball.
No, you're not. We all know. We said it last time, and everybody knows the one portion of these books that I'm like, I understand. I want to think about these big wolves playing ball game. But like, I also like that she understands that I don't care about how the game works.
Don't teach me the rules.
Don't tell me about the game. I don't give a shit. I like that it's just kind of vaguely like a soccer or football.
I love that. I know some of you love like learning about Quidditch and stuff like that. I black out that whole section.
I feel like it's the same thing that I go up against while trying to play board games. I'm like, I gotta learn rules. I don't care. I immediately shut off and I'm like, and everyone's like, I've got to get out the guidebook. Says the person that just started a D&D
playing
campaign.
in my house.
Yeah, we're playing D&D in your house, Natalie. You don't want to be a part of it, and yet you are a part of it whether you want to be or not.
You know, I'm not anti. I've just never begun it. You know what I mean? It's a journey.
It's interesting you say you're not anti, as you would walk through the room with an interesting, sexy girl's scowl on your face towards the nerds in the dining room.
Oh, I don't know if you recall, but I was fashioning this brick wall at the time.
I mean, for anyone that is watching us on YouTube, can we please give it up for Natalie and the brick wall? You did a great job. Natalie's like, I want a brick wall. I want it to have texture. So she created this back wall.
I didn't like make the brick wall.
She fashioned it brick by brick. And I am amazed.
By brick.
But it is fun because you got to remember, in this world, you know, we're inner city girls, right? And wolves and shapeshifters and whatever else we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, again, if you are watching this, we are, yes, wearing the same costumes as episode 0 because 0 doesn't count.
No, we were fooling ourselves. And I mean, do you also think that this is going to be the last time we dress as Bryce and Danica? I don't think so.
No, but we're going to swap them around, I think.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be Bryce at some point, too.
Hopefully it's the only thing we swap.
Ew, all right.
I've been watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's not my fault.
Get it out. Oh, God. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, I bet.
Get me started.
I bet.
All right.
Sunball.
Sunball.
Do they hit the balls? Do they catch the balls? They got balls.
Do they swallow the balls?
Oh, see, if it was the amount of balls they could swallow, that's a sport I could probably get into watching.
Yeah, like a eating competition, but for like with a sport.
Yeah,
like with maybe
I guess that
maybe it's like a
sport.
Ball of sun, and they have to like
oh God, that was
like Pac-Man. Oh,
don't
it's like
go with the
Pac-Man.
mouths. Oh, don't do it, Natalie.
Oh,
get off that field, Natalie.
I'll win.
All right. Congratulations.
All right. So we've introduced a ton of characters already in episode 0, but that's just the tip of the character iceberg in these books. It is thick.
There's so many characters in this book. We're going to get through the world building together, guys.
We return in this episode to chapter 2 after meeting BFFs Bryce and Danica at Bryce's work, Griffith Antiquities, an antique shop on the outskirts of the Old Square district of Lunathian. So where we were was Danica had come to visit Bryce at work, and she showed up as a lady. And then when she went downstairs to take a shower, she appears again, but now in her wolf form, which is
not fair. I want to shapeshift. I want to be able, I know that technically she's not a shapeshifter because she is a wolf, and that is different, everybody, but I just want to be able to like attain an animal form if I want.
One animal or any animal?
I think any animal. I think the more that I read of this world, of all of these worlds, I think that I would like to be able to just like, oh, I need to be small, make me a mouse. Oh, I need to be big, make me a dragon.
A dragon?
Yeah.
I do feel as though it's a little risky becoming a butterfly and stuff, which is more of a throne of glass, a tog, if you will.
I know.
Situation.
That's why, as I was saying, I was like, girl, this is throne of glass. Don't bring this into this world.
No, but becoming a little bug, everything's gonna kill you.
You can do a lot, man.
But I guess you can spy.
You can get away.
But you can also just go, clap, you're dead.
Clap, you're dead. But can't we, any moment of any point in our life, Natalie,
get clapped to death?
Clap to death.
I don't know. I'd like to see you try.
Whoa.
Oh. Ow. That would take a long time.
I didn't do it. She big.
So as their friends were introduced to them, we're learning about them, their world. There's this guy, Briggs, who is this mean man who's been released, and it has something to do with Danica's job. Danica's essentially like a detective police
Like a
force,
guard,
like
yeah.
guard. And this guy Briggs has been released from jail, and they're worried about it because Briggs got put into jail by Danica and her crew. Right away, after all of this information, we're getting a text from Connor Hallstrom.
Okay.
Who Bryce recalls is Danica's second, which means he's a wolfie. Danica's the leader, if you'll recall, and this is her second. And I don't know, he sounds like he might be hot.
Oh, baby, these wolves I cannot. Give me paws, let me scratch.
Yeah, I would definitely see, like, these are your types.
I'm a wolf pack kind of bitch.
Yeah. In this chapter, Bryce and Danica are hitting the pavement. Danica for duty reasons, and Bryce informs Danica that she needs to do a task for Jessica regarding something called Luna's horn. So we talked about that a little bit last episode.
We did.
But they both are heading out of Bryce's business for the night.
They're making their way downtown, walking fast, and they're not homebound.
So they both leave the Antiquities, and we get a little bit of a view of the Crescent City landscape. And it's a nice way to kind of get the feel of the city as they're talking and walking through this like bustling town, the city that they're inside of.
Yeah.
And they talk about the Luna's horn issue, that at this Luna's temple, which is a part of the ruins inside of the metropolitan city that's sort of modernized, there's this relic called Luna's horn, and it's important. It's missing now, and they're trying to figure out where it is. So Micah, who is an archangel.
Okay. So big, scary person.
Yes. So Micah is the guy who basically serves, he's called the governor. He's like the mayor of the city. We're going to learn more about archangels and angels as we go along, but Micah is the guy who like runs town, and he's offered a reward for finding this horn because it's like a big deal that it's missing. And on top of that, we learn through their conversations that the consequences for crimes in Lunathian are very brutal.
Very scary.
So there's an entire area of the part of town called the CBD, which is the Central Business District. There's like a center, sort of like maybe in days of yore where there would be like a hangman.
Yeah, like a stocks or something like that.
But they have, instead, people get crucified. And so somebody
it's like not cool? Crucifying somebody.
It's not cool. I'm not okay with it. And I'm going to be on record as saying it. Okay?
I would say I'd be very, very sorry for anything that I did if I was crucified, and I'd probably shriek that over and over again, I would assume. But it is just the idea of that being what happened. Like, I would be, talk about church mouse. I wouldn't do anything. I'd be like, no, thank you. I'd rather not. I'll just be a good girl. Let me be a fawn. Let me get drunk by myself.
I'm with you, but I also think that's why they keep getting all these rebellions cropping up, because people don't like being crucified.
Oh, and they don't like the archangels for some reason?
Well, they seem like they're a little bit of ball busters.
Yikes.
And
ain't like the angels that we are.
No, not
we
like me.
Peaceful angels. Although I do wish we looked like biblically accurate angels.
Oh my God, every day I wish for it.
Look me in my eyes, but no one ever knows which of
one,
the eyes.
And
yeah.
choose one. So, yeah, this is already, like, you're going to get crucified for stealing. So you don't really want, and man, no spoilers, but we learned about some horrible punishments in this book. When we get to the one punishment, I'm going to be like, we're not talking about this punishment enough.
Yeah, there are multiple points in Crescent City that actually made me a little nauseous with how she writes her torture and how she writes her violence sometimes.
Her tortures. She's so good with her tortures. So, yeah.
This line, Natalie. On certain days, depending on the wind and the heat, the smell of blood and rotting flesh could carry for blocks.
So
summertime.
Yeah, right.
And the living is easy.
I mean, I will say New York sometimes does just smell like that.
Oh, just especially in the middle of like July and August, you don't want to be on a city street. Yikes.
But here we're getting the sense that while there's like a sense of freedom with these girls. They're not like they can wear like sexy clothes and they're like being playful and they have a friendship, but you're also in this city
do you
where
see my bazoombas
her bazooms
over
are
here?
out.
My bazoombas are hanging out and they're being hidden by the computer. So don't worry. I'll just jut them out every once in a while so you can see them off to the side.
Yeah, just for a little treat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is an iron fist over top of the people of this city and this world.
A lot of threats in the ether.
Yeah. So as they walk about, Bryce thinks about how much is on Danica's shoulders compared to her own.
Because she's young.
They're both in their early 20s, but Danica is the granddaughter of the pack leader of her wolf kind. And so she's held to an extremely high standard. She is constantly under scrutiny, especially from her mother, Sabine.
Bum, bum, bum.
Whom Bryce hates.
Yeah, I think they don't like each other.
Yeah, the feeling is extremely mutual.
It's mutual, but like also think about, like, I'm sure you had the friends that your mother hated because you're like, you just encourage. And it's like,
Well,
encourage us to be really cool
also,
and do drugs way too young.
Also, though, I've found in life sometimes the mothers who are like pointing the fingers at all of their kids' friends.
Their kids usually the worst.
Yeah, their kids the one. And they're getting mad at everybody else's children. And it's like, mothers really be doing that sometimes.
Yeah, and also, like, Danica is certainly not innocent. Like, she's out. It's not like she's prowling the city streets going like, you're bad, you shouldn't do that. Like,
right.
Nah, she's, like, out there hurting people.
And as we learn the background of these two young females or fae/wolf women.
Thank you, Natalie. I was about to be offended.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. That... perhaps Bryce really isn't quite so bad, but we don't know yet. Maybe Sabine's correct. Maybe Bryce is just a piece of garbs.
Yeah.
But she kind of considers
Thank
Bryce...
you for shortening garbage. I was like, it's
You're
going to
no
take
time.
too long.
No
yeah,
time.
we got to keep going.
We got to keep going. So the feeling from Sabine is that Bryce is kind of Danny's trashy college friend. And that she needs to like get rid of her.
I've been that friend before.
Not me.
I know, not
never
us.
me.
No, I mean I lied. It was always how funny. My mom really never thought about how often she'd find lighters in my pockets, and I'd be like, "Man, everyone around me smokes cigarettes, mommy.
You were really
everyone around me smokes.
You were really good at being good.
I mean, to be fair, everyone around me did smoke cigarettes.
Oh yeah, but you were good at. Sorry, Linda, if you're listening, you were good at secrets.
Sorry, Linda.
So they're walking, and then as they walk, Danny's talking about how she's going to have to deal with this. She's going to get berated tonight for messing some stuff up inside of her job. And she mentions that at this big meeting where all of these like authority leaders are basically going to come yell at her, Bryce's brother will be there.
Half-brother. Bryce didn't bother to correct her. Half-brother and full fae prick.
And so Bryce is like asking Danica, why are you telling me this?
Yes.
So she has this half brother that she apparently doesn't like very much. And apparently Bryce has beef with a lot of people because so far we know she doesn't like Sabine and she doesn't like her half brother.
Which I also think is funny that you're like, at first we don't know, is Bryce the problem in this? And then immediately she's just like kind of coming off with such like hard bitchy energy, but like in a fun way. And we all love a fun bitch.
And we love some gossip.
Yes. Also, right out the gate, you really see that Bryce Quinlan is very different out the gate from other
characters
of other series of SJMs.
Everything is immediately is way different. I mean, the cell phone discussion comes in like in the first couple pages.
That broke my brain.
Like,
I was like,
what?
cell phones? But wait, Renaissance, we cannot understand.
But what about the loots that are supposed to be there?
No loots.
So as they're walking, Bryce is thinking about these thoughts and she's toying with this necklace that's around her neck as she's doing so.
Danica went on patrol armed with claws, a sword, and guns. But Bryce's daily armor consisted solely of this, an Archesian amulet barely the size of her thumbnail, gifted by Jessica on the first day of work.
So this necklace is pointed out in a way that makes it seem like it might hold some importance.
And why did Jessica give it to her on her first day of work?
And what does it do?
Dunno, but she's toying with it.
There's 3 circles intertwined on this necklace, but we don't immediately know what that means. But when I first read this, I heard Archeron in my mind.
I thought the 3 sisters.
Who knows?
Who knows if that has anything to do with it?
As they walk the streets of Crescent City, we get a sense of their easy companionship and love for one another, even as they discuss really heavy subjects like this terrorist, Briggs, who has been released from prison. Bryce takes a call from her mom, and we get a brief intro into her mother, Ember Quinlan, who is the human part of the half-human, half-fae that makes up Bryce. Bryce and her mom have tension because Ember worries about Bryce's safety living in the city.
Just like a mom.
She's just being mom. But then as her mother's sort of arguing with her in this it's not like a serious phone call. It's really, I think, just to get an intro to her mom.
Yeah.
In general, Bryce is thinking about how she's actually fine because her stepfather, and she considers her stepfather her real father as far as she's concerned, uses his sort of missionary training. He has a background that makes him very well versed in guns. So her stepfather's
probably
also
really sexy to some people when they read about him.
to some people.
Yeah, to some people like me. It's me.
No, he seems great. Even just being a strong father figure is
I know.
I don't know why it's asking so much.
He's the father who stepped up.
He's the father stepped up. And that's her dad to her. And he's also a human, but he is very tough and strong and taught her how to use guns. This is also a new addition to the Massiverse because modern weapons are being introduced to this story. And that changes a lot. It really adds a level of darkness to the series, in my opinion, because we're going from swords and laser, lightning hands and all that stuff. Now we're dealing with machine guns.
And also thinking about how severe the punishments are in this world. You're talking crucifixion. We're talking Sabine and how she talks about her own daughter in such visceral, brutal ways. Jessica out the gate already threatening to turn people into animals if they piss her off. This already, the stakes are much higher in this world than the other worlds. I feel up top.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's my life. The stakes from my life
now or
feel
never.
like this all the time,
Yeah.
There's just always stuff coming at me, and I'm jumping over stuff and hitting blocks. I think I'm talking about Mario Brothers.
I was about to say, it was you do go, oh, oh, I can't even do it. Oh,
no, I can't think of it. Now I'm thinking of Mickey Mouse. Wait, what's he go?
See, I'm more particular too. Waha!
But
that's
Wario and
Waluigi, bitches.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you.
Very good job.
Yeah, just a much more intense world. And honestly, at first, it kind of put me off. I was just
to a lot of people.
Oh, no.
We hear that a lot from readers who fell in love with some of the other worlds she's written, and then they come to this and they're like, whoa, what? Hang on a second. So you do have to sort of shift your mind to get into these books. And I will say that if this is your first time reading through or you're just thinking about it, I love this series, but
I love it.
You do have to shift into it's a different genre almost, but there's
because I wouldn't call it romantasy.
No,
per se.
I would call it a murder mystery, cyberpunk, sci-fi, fantasy with erotica.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Fenterotica, yeah.
Fenterotica. Yeah, we have to come up with a short name for it.
All right, we'll figure this out.
All right. But if you put your mind in that mind space, it might be a little bit easier for you to start to accept this and then be like, oh, actually, this is great. And it is. It's really, I love the world. I love the characters, but it is more of a murder mystery, to be honest.
And it's worth it.
It so is. There's kissing. Don't you worry.
Oh, yeah. And you're begging for it by the time it happens. I just remember being bright red as I listened to it because I was so excited. All right, Ryan, we're not there yet.
Oh, when we get to
we're
the
not
ones,
there
when
yet.
we get to that,
you know what I'm talking about.
There's a scene. Whew. Oh my. All right. So we're off. We're ways off.
Sorry, yeah, we're still setting it up.
So Bryce is on this phone call with her mom, and her and Danica's sort of like shouting over Bryce's shoulder because Danica has this strong relationship with her mom too because they're BFFs.
They're BFFs.
And so Ember's trying to get Bryce to come home and visit, and Bryce and Danica are sort of being like, "Oh, we can't. We're busy. We can't leave because Mom lives outside of Crescent City."
And like, Mom, I just want to get drunk and fuck random people at the bar.
She doesn't say that, but that's what she's inferring.
Yeah.
So they kind of get off the call quickly and kind of brush off Mom, and we'll get to learn more about her later. This whole time, the duo has been walking towards this giant rose quartz sculpture that's in the shape of a gate. And it's in this like kind of center part of town. If you look at the map at the beginning of the book, you'll see that there are these 7 gates marked in a perfect pentagram type shape.
One of 7 in this city, all carved from enormous blocks of quartz hewn from the Laconian mountains to the north. The old square gate was often called the Heart Gate.
Man, I want a big rose quartz gate.
Dude, right in front of your house, just be like, I am a goddess.
I imagine it's like super unethical to like mine that kind of stuff that size.
Way. No, there's no way. It's little hands, little bloody hands.
No.
I mean, you could get out in the desert. I don't know where quartz is. In the mountains, and you can go find it yourself. I know I did find some quartz in the Rocky Mountains, so I would assume look to the mountains.
Look to the mountains. I wish that I could, though. It would be an incredible addition to my home.
Also, I feel like it would really scare any kind of delivery people, or at least like entrance them in some kind of fun way.
I do think somebody would probably come try to steal it.
It would be funny to watch them like on a camera being like, oh, I can't.
I pooped.
Oh,
I pooped.
I pooped. I strained too hard.
As this book meshes ancient Fae sort of features and something akin to I would call 2013, there's like this overlap that you might see, like we were just talking about. It's like a cyberpunk dystopia sci-fi thing, which I love. So we're seeing like these ancient relics mixed in. It's sort of like going to Rome or something, where you see like, you're just like, there's thousands of years old building, and then there's
like
just like a Wendy's next to it, and you're like, what
is happening?
So I like that. And that's kind of what she's trying to get across, is that they're going towards this big gate.
But that there's a lot of history that they include in their world still.
Yeah. And she's here describing this sort of mystical relic creation that's been turned into basically a tourist trap. And I think it's a really good way of capturing the vibe of this city that Maas is laying out. So there's these 7 gates, and we can list them off. I don't know if that's super helpful right now.
No, because we're not dealing with all of them yet.
So we are going to eventually be dealing with all of these different gates. But if I just tell you all their names, you're not going to remember.
No, I mean, I'm looking at this list and I was like, I read those books and I don't remember those gates. So,
yeah. But they are going to keep appearing during the story. Just so be aware of that.
Also that the gates all bear the same plaque. The power shall always belong to those who give their lives to the city.
Very intense. It's a little bit extra.
Wow. Yeah, it is. But we are here for the overdramatic.
It's true. But now, as a tourist attraction, what they were used for before is kind of not really, it's not important anymore. It's sort of just this fun, quirky thing, which you can speak into one and hear people at the other gate. And I don't know if were you ever in that, where is that? Not Times Square. Oh my God. What's the big train station called in New York?
Grand Central Station.
Have you ever been to Grand Central, into that one section where you can whisper to the one corner and they can hear you on the other corner?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it made me think of.
Yes.
It's sort of
it feels like it's like a secret that no one else knows about,
right,
even though everybody knows about it. But
that's sort of the idea that you can talk to the people through the gates and everybody's like, ha, 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 and they like say fart on it and stuff. You know what I mean?
I'd definitely say fart.
Yeah. And so people also come and make magic wishes to these gates. It's sort of what I would equate to throwing a coin in a fountain.
Yeah.
And it's something that Bryce and Danica discuss, having participated in a million times, the way you would if you were a local and you just passed the same fountain. You probably had like this ritual with your friend where you like toss a coin in, but instead of that.
Or like a time when you got real real hammered and found yourself in the fountain, and then there's a bunch of pictures of you in the fountain, but you got to get rid of the pictures of you in the fountain because you shouldn't have been in the fountain in the first place. And if anyone on campus found out about you being in the fountain, you might get expelled from school. I don't know anything about that.
Is that a real story?
It is. It's me. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
You had a fountain at your school. I guess my school is small.
Yeah, we had a big old fountain, but then it would always like people would put like body wash it in and there's bubbles, and like it was always like the site of the pranks.
It does seem like a faulty plan to put a fountain in a college because college kids are just going to keep.
We're going to get drunk and go inside of it.
Swim in it,
of course.
Put
shit
suds.
in it. Always fucking with it. But it was like a historical fountain, which is why they're like, you can't go inside of the fountain. And man, did we just fucking, we're like, hey, fuck you, fuck you.
Was it a sculpture of like a person?
There was like a big, I think like, I don't know if it was like an angel and not an archangel, but like just one, I don't know, something with the wing. I don't know. Usually I dare say I was pretty drunk.
There, no
I was
idea
pretty
what's
drunk
on
when
the
I was in that fountain. All right, I wasn't doing it sober.
Okay, well, someday let's find out what that's. Maybe that statue is something that's really powerful.
Probably like important to the college or something.
It's going to change our lives when we find out.
I don't know. Now, did you want to get into the drop right now?
I'm not going to that much. We will be bringing it up.
Because at this point, I'm going to be real with you. I'm excited to go back through the drop because when I first read it, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And because let's just say the gates have something to do with the drop, but we're not going to deal with it right now.
Yeah, and it's brought up in this manner that Jackie was just talking about. When the book is in its first chapters, the term the drop comes up but is not fully explained
at all.
So you can tell it's something important, but it doesn't tell you anything else. She doesn't tell you anything else right away. So you are sort of left with, okay, something happens.
Just living in a nebulous space together, guys, but get comfortable because it's warm.
Yeah, so we will be discussing what the drop is coming up. Don't you worry. So as Bryce and Danica have participated in this little ritual at the gate a million times, they decide they want to do it 1,000,001 times because they're passing by it. And when you do this, the person or the veneer who come and do this, they have to drop a little drop of their magic into the gate every time they do it. So it's like, I don't know where the power comes from, the well of their souls.
Yeah, the pools of your essence.
If you're an ACOTAR reader, it's reminiscent of the drops of power that the lords give to Feyre in ACOTAR, except in this world it's given over, it seems like very common.
Yeah, because I feel like in ACOTAR, like that was a real big thing.
A real big freaking deal. But here it just seems like people do it all the time. And we actually learned,
as if it in time became rote.
And it is actually something that'll come up a lot more in the storyline. But the veneer in this world are used to putting their drops into these gates, and it's not a big deal. So they want to go do it.
Also in my brain, it was very difficult to try and distinguish that veneer didn't just have really big fake teeth, because I was thinking about all these like magical beings. I
do love that.
Are so big.
To me, I hear venereal disease.
Oh, see, man, this is why we got to have these conversations.
Right?
Oh, perspective.
Perspective. So they want to do this again, but there's this huge long line of tourists waiting, like boring. When you're a local and you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, what am I going to go to the M&M store in Times Square? Fuck off.
I'm not going to wait in that line.
No.
But luckily for them, Danica has credentials, because I know that sounds like
Natalie, you're so cool as Danica. You're such a you're like really feeling it. I can't even believe I'm sitting next to you because Danica's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's like kind of hard to be Danica because she's just got so much charisma and like power, and she's like really important.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jackie. I mean, Bryce.
Thank you.
So she, again, she has to flash her credentials to get past this crowd of people because they don't want to wait in the line because they're locals, but they want to do their little drop in the gate.
I get it. We're cute.
And she's talking about her, we're talking about her ox badge, of course.
Yes.
Flashing her credentials doesn't mean her breasts. Even though
oh, man. But these babies get me into a lot of places. Let me give you a little treat for those watching the YouTube. Oh, I can't see the ball.
Wow, she's really going for it.
There you go.
Well,
I really wanted
You're
to
welcome.
make sure everybody saw.
That was really, it's almost like ASMR because you could hear the dress.
Oh, the ruffling, the rustling.
So they flash Danica's badge. They pass all of these tourists because they want to see this beautiful gate and they want to stick their little badges in it so they can make a wish. And I think I would be super pissed if I was one of the tourists. But then again, they also kind of know who Danica is. So it'd be sort of like if Malia Obama.
Yeah, they
cut
hate us because
everybody.
they ain't us. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, you only hate because you ain't cutting the line.
So I'd be annoyed at first, but then I would see it's Malia Obama and be like, oh my God, look, it's Malia. And so they're all kind of excited to see Danica. And they also are just ogling Bryce because she's pretty hot.
Hottie.
So they have...
Good Lord, Bryce Quinlan's so hot.
She is.
Just thinking about how often SJM writes about her big bulbous ass rippling underneath her clothes. I'm just like, wow, SJM is definitely an ass bitch or a legs bitch. It's one or the other.
Yeah. No, I could see that, definitely.
Right?
So the two of them have obviously some really serious problems that they're dealing with right now and a lot on their minds. But even so, they go and make silly wishes after taking all this time to cut in front of everybody to get to the gate. They're just being silly. And this highlights their relationship, I think. We're supposed to see them
Effortless.
as... Yeah, this effortless, like, ease between them. And their silliness is earned through all of the strife they've gone through. But together, they can still have fun and they depend on each other for it. And I think that's it's a good way to just explain that through the word.
Well, and also think about like your friendships from early 20s and how you just like, I lived and died by them. I needed them. They were my
Yeah.
It's a point in your life when you're not really turning to your family. I feel like it is a point when you're trying to become independent and
But you're not yet.
But you're not. So you still keep fucking up. So you need your web of friendship to kind of like hold you guys all together. And it's like, I feel like those are the times when it's like, I live or die for my friends.
Yes, for sure. And they have that feeling for each other. And they're being silly, but we also get Bryce is mulling over this thing called the drop in these first few chapters that we just mentioned. This will be an important aspect of the story and of their lives as Veneer in this world. And Veneer, by the way, if we haven't explained it by calling it teeth or STDs. The word veneer is VANIR, and it's any sentient conscious beings other than humans and traditional animals.
Animals, yeah.
So any of the things like the flames and the wolves and the fae and all the things we're about to be introduced are veneer. We don't get a ton of info yet about what this drop is, but we glean that it involves a ritual where the semi-immortal Veneer gain their immortality. Before then, they're almost as fragile as humans, and most Veneer seem to make this drop after they've turned a majority age. It also becomes clear that the time of the drop is chosen by each individual person. Bryce and Danica have decided that they will make the drop together at the age of 27, which is still some years off from them where they are in the story. So they really worry about each other's safety because they are a little bit more fragile. And even though Bryce isn't really set to get much more power with her half-fae heritage.
Just a half fae.
To me, when I was 27, that's not the time I would want to do. I was not healthy that time of my life.
No, I technically I think I'm in the best place health-wise I've
Totally.
ever been in my life. So it's like, can you wait until I get the 20s out of my system and then I
Yeah.
like settle down in my 30s? That would be great.
Even physically, because I was not taking care of myself and I was very frail.
Oh yeah, I had no muscles.
I
couldn't beat the shit out of anybody like I can now.
Yeah.
I
Also, I was drinking very heavily.
Very heavily. No, there was no way I could make any kind of like large life decision in my 20s, but you feel like you're already old enough when you're in your 20s. You do feel like I'm independent now. I don't need that shit. So it also makes you feel fairly invincible while feeling vulnerable because they know that they don't have their immortality or they haven't made the drop yet. Like, it's got to be scary, but it also has to be more exciting.
Because you might just get clapped to death.
I'm saying this for adventure people. I'm not an adventure person. I'm more of a binge watch Netflix on my couch kind of gal. But for those that enjoy the thrill of the hunt. You know, I feel like it would make more sense for you.
Interesting. You say the thrill of the hunt.
Hunt. Don't, Natalie. I'm gonna slip out of the seat already.
Oh my god!
I can't even think about Hunt Athalar. Okay.
He's coming. He's not there yet. So Danica, while Bryce is not meant to inherit that much power because she's only half Fae, Danica, on the other hand, is supposed to inherit a whole boatload of power.
And that's got to be really scary to think about, like especially as someone that young and that strong already. Mm-hmm. About imagine even just thinking now, you're about to come into a lot more power. What does that mean? What's it going to do to my brain? What's it going to do to my life?
And not only that, in this world, you have essentially what royal lines are, and Danica is that. So she's going to be held responsible for a lot of things, which is probably why she's fucking off so much, because I'd be so pissed, man. But we know this because we learned that the young kids in this world get blood tests and they get like an estimation of how much power they're meant to have when they're older. After Bryce and Danica leave their silly wishes with the Heartgate, we find ourselves back with Bryce when she returns to their shared apartment later that evening. So Bryce and Danica live together. And it's near where Bryce
Natalie,
works.
we used to live together, you remember?
I do.
You remember that? We used to live together, Natalie. It's probably for the best we don't live together anymore while also working together. But
it might be a lot.
We had fun.
Oh, yeah. It was great. It was
Drink
not
a
shitty.
lot of wine.
Yeah. We were we weren't like crushing life, but we were better off than at this time period in their lives where they're sort of just like living in a dump, which that's fine. They're
in
their
your early 20s. It's part, I guess it's grown up. I know I just say it a lot, but I guess that is growing up. Sometimes you got to live in a bit of a dingy environment.
I do think you do miss out on something if you've never lived in a hovel.
Yeah, with like way too many people, or like people are always on the couch or sleeping on the floor. Like,
yeah,
I loved it. I mean, I'm glad I don't live that life
not
anymore.
Now, but
at the time, I loved it because
fun.
the party never stopped.
And I walked in. Now stop making bump.
Yes, Natalie.
Did I already incorporate that song into later in the script? I did.
Wow. Well, it just runs in your veins right now.
It's true. So Bryce is back at their apartment, and where their apartment is pretty close to where her job is, and it's the Old Town section of Lunathian, which, you know, describes it's the Williamsburg of the 2010s. It's like it's overpopulated, it's packed with people and lots of shitty apartments,
lots of energy,
and that's where they live. It's not fancy, despite Danica coming from wealth. It's more just Danica doesn't want to live like that, and she wants to live with Bryce, who can't afford a fancy apartment.
Yeah, dude.
And it's here we meet Danica's posse, which calls itself the Pack of Devils. In the wolf world here, packs are broken up by different leaders inside of the wolf community. I don't know how to call it. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
So Danica is the leader of her pack, if you'll recall. And then we meet all of the other wolves who make up the Pack of Devils. It's Connor and Ethan, the Holstrom boys. There's Natalie, hey!
Whoa!
Bronson, Zelda, Zach, and Thorn. Some of these wolves will be more prominent in the story than others, and you'll have to wait and see which ones.
Yes, Natalie. Anything you see, Natalie?
Yeah. So if you'll recall, Connor is Danica's second, and Natalie is Danica's third. The rest of them are their different they do different jobs in the pack. And then Ethan, which is Connor's younger brother, is technically just an honorary pack member. He's just like hangs out with them all the time.
Like the kid brother that loves to tag around and is growing up, and you're just like, well, I guess you can join us for our hangs. You know, a little bit like me and what I did to my older brother and his friends.
Oh, that's true. You're right.
What about me? What about me? I'm here too.
They wanted you there too, you know? Like they all want Ethan there. They're not like, get out of here, Ethan.
No,
He's
no,
like,
no.
come on, guys, let me into the party.
Yeah, he's not that much younger. He is like a me, where it's like, oh, it's just enough space where it's like you're definitely younger, but you still can hang with everybody.
Yeah.
Like me, right, Natalie?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed reassurance every second of every day. I'm fine. I have a therapist.
Oh, God. So the wolves and the other veneer end up in these auxiliary positions based on their magical heritage. We're getting a lot of explanation.
I
You
know.
guys have to lock in because we are explaining a lot of this world.
It's why I'm trying to sit back and let you explain more and not interrupt you. Introduct. You know what, Natalie? I was sick of introducting you, and it is difficult for me. No, there's just a lot. There's a lot of information, so I'm trying to let it breathe.
Yes. So this wolf pack is by heritage chosen to already have become auxiliary members. They have to protect the people of the city.
Not just other wolves, everybody.
Yes, their job as the wolves of this position they must, by their magical heritage, which is like a little bit 1984
It is.
ish. But they probably don't have that book in Midgard because it's not the 21st century there, so it wouldn't make any sense.
And even if they did, I don't think Danica or any of the wolves or Bryce is reading it. Let's be real.
Probably not,
They've got
no.
other things to do. I don't think sitting down with a good book and a cuddle is something they enjoy.
contemplating
Yeah.
about
Introducting.
society. So yeah, it is kind of like, wow, you don't get a choice at all. You have to become a cop.
But I also imagine it's such a huge sense of pride for them that they're probably they more see it as a huge responsibility, but in like it's because they are important kind of way.
Yeah, hopefully you want that job, though.
Right?
Like, what if you wanted to be a graffiti artist or something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want that job, but I would love to be a wolf. And I guess if I was a wolf, I guess I'd do
have
it
to
if I
become a
had
cop.
to. Yeah.
But I mean, that's like you follow in your father's footsteps.
My father's footsteps. He didn't want me to become a cop.
So even though we're getting a little bit of the dystopic, that's not a real word, but I like it, dystopic feel of 1984, we still don't worry. They're not wearing big baggy jumpsuits like in 1984. They got fashion all through this book.
They're so hot.
So huzzah for that. The wolfies in this scene are all wearing casual sports clothing like you would see at people sitting at a baseball game because they have just returned from Ethan's sunball game. A sport, again, we don't get described, which I am endlessly thankful for.
Thank you, SJM. We know there's balls. We know there's big, hot people playing with balls.
We can watch them do other stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, I'll watch them bend over. I'll watch them get back up. I'll watch them walk away. Yeah, there's lots of things I'll watch them do.
Do you want to watch a man just bend over a bunch?
Have I told you about Wrangler butts?
Oh, yes, I do know that. But do you like when they're bent over, like, or do you just want to see them standing? Because I feel like bent over is like,
I just love butts.
Are you gonna get behind him and hump on him?
No. I think I would just want to stand behind them and pretend like I was going to grab their butt. And I do the
She's
like,
doing a ooga,
oogas. I think it's more that.
Consensually.
Consensually. Yeah. Definitely consensually.
So
I mean, if you're behind them and they can't see you, I'm just saying.
No.
Consensually, we must never.
no. So they're wearing clothes that we might associate with the
Big,
Earth,
sweaty
America,
boys. Yeah.
right? Beyond the magic and the shape-shifting, etc., the scene is set in a way that a lot of us can probably relate to, which is a bunch of 22-year-olds hanging out, stuffed onto couches, eating pizza and drinking cheap beer. There's a cozy sense, to me at least, of the young companionship of the bunch of somewhat naive young adults all kind of protecting each other.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice feeling. They are all very close, especially Bryce and the Holstrom boys, in very different ways. So Bryce mentions in her thoughts that she feels very close to Ethan. She might have some different feelings for Connor, though.
Oh.
We learn a little bit through the scene that Connor and Bryce have a bit of an eye for one another.
It's definitely I don't like you. I don't
like you. Stop it, idiot.
Stop. What a
God.
And then her like tits are just like dangling out and she's like, oh, stop.
Right.
Stop, you idiot.
You
wolf.
stupid, dumb.
Yeah, it's a lot of that, which, I was real big into when I was younger. I was way into that whole like, I'm too busy for you.
I think that's like also very common at that age.
At that age, yes.
Because it's very hard to be vulnerable. And so sometimes it's easier. It's like one up level from being in 4th grade and just like slapping each other.
Exactly. And it's like you don't quite have the emotional communication yet. And that's okay. There, you got to figure that out.
Yeah, there's no, what are you rushing for? So.
Well, we know what they're rushing for.
Is that a sex reference?
You know, it was, but then I realized it sounded like I was trying to say something about the Russian people, but I meant that they were Russian to have sex. And then I was like, oh, I don't.
She does not mean to disparage the Russian people.
No, they're just Russian to have sex.
So they're doing that sort of like half flirt with each other, but Bryce is adamant that she won't date big, blustery alpha wolves.
She hates alpha holes.
She says, I will not. Never. Ew, yuck. Yuck, Connor. I hate looking at you.
Yummy, I hate it.
So Danica has returned also from the meeting she had been summoned to earlier where she was getting berated. And she's in a bad mood because of it, but she's come back home now to join Bryce and the other wolves. Not only did the horn of Luna get stolen in this blackout that had just happened in the city, but 2 CCU students, which is Crescent City University, were also murdered during that time. So it was, as the horn was getting stolen, these 2 students were ripped apart, and it was on Danica's watch.
Yeah, where were the wolves that were supposed to take care of them? But also, yeah, you wrote here too, they were ripped to shreds.
A lot of people
students
get ripped to shreds in these books.
There's a lot. Yeah, man.
Just warning you.
Turning bodies into ribbons.
Yeah. So Danica also isn't happy about this, but she doesn't fully explain what's happened. She just tells everybody essentially she got screamed at by a bunch of people, including her mother. And this mystery begins to unfold in these first couple of chapters. Is this mysterious Briggs behind the murders?
Yeah, because he just got out of prison.
Is he going to go after Danica?
Interesting.
He's a human rebellion leader, and he hates the Veneer. He commits violence against them, in fact. And so this presents this emotional conflict in Bryce right away in the story.
Which comes up again and again, especially with her heritage being half fae, half human, in a world where I don't even know if it's established yet at this point that like there is, which I think you would assume, sadly, that there is a lot of, I guess, is the word racism?
Prejudice.
Prejudice, yeah. Prejudice between the different kinds of people. So it is what makes Briggs so scary because he's a human going against the Veneer.
And humans obviously get a lot of the brunt of the prejudice because
yeah,
they're
because we
Borosnoro.
suck. We
I
suck.
know.
We have no powers.
I know. So, but Bryce is very proud of her human heritage, and she seems to take umbrage with the way some Veneer treat humans in this world. So in one way, she is sort of agreeing with Briggs' cause, but while it may have merit, he's also committing violence at random. He's trying to kill, and it seems like that's not a great way to go about it either.
Nah.
So it seems like war is complicated.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce and Danica debrief in the kitchen about their evenings.
What, are they taking off the underpants?
No, but they are going ham on some pizza.
Yeah, they are.
They're eating pizza and they're chatting in the kitchen about all of their woes and about how they're worried about what's going on. And the other wolves are in the living room, the other room in the apartment, watching TV and pretending like they're not eavesdropping on what Bryce and Danica are talking about because they start to get into some juicy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Danica makes it clear that she doesn't like this dude that Bryce is seeing. She's actually going to be going on a date with this guy that same evening. And Bryce doesn't seem particularly thrilled by this guy either.
Danica just said it.
If he grabs his phone to check his messages before his dick's barely out of view again, please have the self-respect to kick his balls across the room and come home to me. Fucking hell, Danica!
Bryce hissed.
Say it a little goddamn louder.
The wolves had gone silent. Even their munching had stopped, then resumed just a decibel too loudly.
So Bryce is kind of seeing this guy. His name's Reed. He's a human guy. And he's just a, quote, okay at sex guy.
Which, again, like, at that age, if they are awful in every other way, that sex better be mind-blowing.
Well,
all right?
I think it could be maybe just because she's not willing to accept her feelings for Connor yet. Maybe that she might have actually caught some feelings for Connor, but she's like,
she's
I
a
can't.
bad bitch.
She says, I can't. I'm dating this other fucking guy.
Yeah, and he's really rich, and he treats me bad.
Yeah, so take that.
Yeah, Connor.
Something I love about Bryce is that she's unafraid of herself and her body. And even if her curves...
She got nothing to be scared of with her body.
And she talks, I mean, openly, it is a part of her life because people treat her differently because of her curves.
Right.
And she also, it comes with other consequences, like not being able to become a professional ballerina like she had hoped to, which I could personally, as a dancer, relate to, especially growing up as a ballerina who was never skinny enough. That's changed a lot in culture, but not fully. And yeah, you know, even if you are, especially in the 90s and 2000s, if you were exceptionally talented, not that I was that talented, but even if you were, if you had boobs and a butt, they ain't want you.
Yeah.
They ain't want you. And especially if you're tall too. So Bryce was kind of kept away from her dream of being a dancer just because she has a luscious body and has bodacious tatas, which is not fair.
Rockin' ass.
But we learn in Bryce's thoughts that she does actually have a professional ballerina friend named Juniper, who we will also be meeting soon.
We certainly will.
She's a part of Bryce and Danica's core group. The core group consists of Bryce, Danica, the ballerina Juniper, and the mysterious Fury.
Talk about another book character that every time I read about Fury, I just want to slip and slide down the street.
Wow.
Which is difficult.
You would be like, whoa!
Someone please get me off of this slip and slide. I'd like for it to end. I was just talking about slip and slides not that long ago because a friend of mine was having hardcore slip and slide action. And I'm not talking about being horny. I mean an actual slip and slide. And I was like, you are 38 years old. Didn't it hurt to throw yourself on the ground over and over again? And they said, yeah. And it was great.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I wouldn't get back up again if I threw myself on the ground.
Slip and slide parties for me?
Yeah, you want a slip and slide party?
Yeah.
Very different than, it does sound like I'm talking about a swinger party, but very different.
Nope. Just a regular,
just a regular actual slip and slide.
Just butts on
tarps. Yeah, it's just going to be tarps.
Tarps with water on.
Yeah. Oh, God, I always wanted Alligator Alley. Remember that one? The alligator head in the end?
One of my most cherished things I ever got because we moved.
Did you have Alligator Alley?
We had Crocodile Mile, which was essentially the same thing.
Yes.
I was so excited when my mom bought it for us because we didn't get a lot of those kind of things. And I was so excited. I blew it up myself as like a 10-year-old and almost blacked out because I used all my hair.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's huge.
But I was so excited to use it.
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
Wish I still had that.
All right. We'll have to get a new one. And then just come in next week just covered in black and blues. Just like, we've been throwing ourselves on the floor.
We already got bruises all over us.
Yeah, that's just because we have ADHD.
Oh.
It sounds like we hit each other. No, we're not hitting each other. It's just when you have ADHD, sometimes you have spatial awareness issues.
I also just hurt myself for fun.
Well, yeah, you're crazy, girl.
I'm so wild. Like, you guys, I'm just like quirky.
You're just different. A Danica is what you are.
Just being a bit of a Danica. We'll learn more about this crew later on. We get a sense that these two protagonists, Bryce and Danica, have their struggles, but also have this beautiful network of friends and loved ones who all look out for one another.
I think that's also what I like about this book is feeling that way about our group of friends.
Totally.
Like I do feel this way of like, yeah, I could see, I don't know. I know that we're comedians and we're not prowling around taking care of everyone, but we could if we wanted to. Imagine Holden being like, I am a wolf and I am gonna get you.
Yeah, I can't imagine it, actually. I feel like he has screamed that at some point before.
Yeah, when he's got his wolf days. Everybody does.
But he's not going to actually do anything after he says that.
No.
So Bryce has to get ready for this date. She puts on a tight little number, but she shows her disregard for old Reed, this guy she's about to see, who, by the way, his father owns a magic tech company, which just sounds like,
Slimy. It sounds like a slime ball thing.
a little bit of an Elon vibe. So he's loaded, but not really putting any effort into her hair or makeup, which is kind of to show she doesn't really care, because otherwise it's something she might enjoy putting herself together. That's not, everybody doesn't want to put their hair and makeup together, but Bryce certainly is one who likes to primp.
Yes.
And so the fact that she doesn't means she simply doesn't care about Reed very much.
No. Maybe she'd act differently if she was going on a date with Connor. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. It sounds kind of like she just wants to get laid, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I don't think I ever really put on makeup for those experiences either. I think you kind of just show up.
You're like, you.
I guess this one, huh? We're doing this again? Great.
Get over here. As she's leaving and then you say, thank you very much.
Yeah, and you say,
afterwards.
thank you for not giving me an orgasm. Yes, I will go home and be sad about it.
As she's leaving for her date, there is an exchange between her and Connor, and there is definitely a lot more interest in Connor here, even though Bryce pretends like she don't give a care about him.
Yeah, very interesting difference of what's going on in her head versus what she's saying.
Mm-hmm. But they both know better. He's not fooled by this. It's a very sweet scene where the big, strong wolf bro, Connor, is clearly nervous, but determined to convince Bryce to go on a date with him. Not in a pushy way, but he knows as well as she does that she likes him as much as he likes her.
Oh, yeah. They can feel the intensity between them.
He challenges her, asking if messing with all these whack human guys has made her forget how she feels about him.
No, it hadn't. But she said, her voice mercifully calm despite her thundering heart.
Connor, I'm not going out with you. Danica's bossy enough. I don't need another wolf, especially a male wolf, trying to run my life. I don't need any more veneer shoving into my business.
His golden eyes dimmed.
I'm not your father.
He didn't mean Randall.
Uh-oh, we got daddy issues.
Man, daddy issues. There are daddy issues in a couple of these stories, SJM. Very curious if SJM has any issues.
Well,
with the father.
I don't know, but this is something that I'm pretty sure, not trying to hide. She is, in fact, adopted. And she seems to have a very good relationship with her adopted parents, who she calls her parents.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Good for her.
But who knows?
Lord knows about the other past, and we'll never know, and that's okay.
That's okay. But daddy, Bryce's daddy did something. What'd you do, daddy?
And we don't know who daddy is.
Not yet. This line of negotiation, though, that Connor is using is the wrong tactic to use with Bryce. She's like, peace, boy.
Don't want to hear it.
Don't want to hear about it.
Oh, we're going to talk about my father right now?
Oh, thanks.
Nah, dude.
I was feeling a bit all fuzzy inside, but now I just want to punch you in the dick.
Not the way to get into this pent over here.
As he tries to block her from leaving the room, not scarily, but just saying like, wait.
No, wait. Like, let's talk. Wait.
She reflects on how he is actually acting like her bio father from what Ember has revealed to Bryce about him. Ember was only 19 when she got pregnant with Bryce, and though we don't know much about bio dad yet, she relays in her thoughts that he has a lot of power, and Ember ran fast and far when she realized that she was pregnant. She wanted to get away from Bryce's bio dad for whatever reason. I wonder if we'll ever get a flashback about how they met, because without spoilers, I don't think we ever learn how they met originally. And
No.
I can't imagine how they did.
I will say after the last book where we learn more about Ember, I will say I would imagine that they're teeing that up for the future.
Yeah, that's probably true. You're right.
Sorry, really trying to say, I'm like, how do I say it without spoiling anything?
No, you didn't spoil it. I don't think that was a spoiler.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bryce brushes him off as she is leaving out the front door. And Danica says something that's a little odd to Bryce. She says, love you.
Danica met her gaze from across the room, her eyes still wary but faintly amused. She winked.
Light it up, bitch. Light it up, asshole.
Bryce replied, the farewell sliding off her tongue with the ease of years of usage. But it was Danica's added,
Love you.
As Bryce slipped out into the grimy hallway that made her hesitate with her hand on the knob.
This takes Bryce off guard because Danica doesn't say the words I love you very often. Light it up is more their speed.
Which is obviously their like shorthand term for I love you.
Right.
Also, go kill it. Hell yeah, love you, support you.
Right. And Bryce isn't offended because she knows that Danica's mom is cold and that Danica doesn't know her dad. And she didn't really grow up using that term for affection. So her saying it tonight, it makes Bryce consider staying in with Danica, assuming that it has something to do with the verbal berating she just received earlier in the evening. So like, she's like, maybe Danica needs
a little
some,
extra time to hang tonight.
But then she kind of just shrugs it off. She's like, I'm overthinking this. And she heads into the city. As chapter 4 begins, Bryce is in this fancy restaurant waiting for her date, Reed. She is less than thrilled about all of this for many reasons, but one is that he's very late. And also people in the restaurant are all giving her the stink eye.
You don't need to deal with that shit, Bryce. And I'm also saying that to anyone who gets disrespected while dating someone. It's one thing for one person to be late, they hit you up, and then, oh, you know, it's that. But this person, over and over again, doesn't treat her right. And then on top of it, you're not even gonna like make me feel good, but then you're gonna be late and not say anything about it. And you can definitely tell that this is like a similar, like, I'm sure this is not the first time she has been disappointed by him.
No, and the thing is, she doesn't give a fuck about this guy either, but she is definitely at this point feeling really disregarded. And he's not worth even like being annoyed with almost, you know what I mean?
He's just a Richie Rich.
So she's at this place called the Pearl and Rose, and it makes me think of something that might be in Tribeca or Beverly Hills, where it's snooty kind of business people in a restaurant. Somewhere Patrick Bateman might go with his colleagues is what I'm thinking of. So she tries to ignore the glares and the sneers from the other patrons who perhaps sense her lack of money or are just maybe slut shaming her because
I'm sure it's slut shaming her.
You know, they're judging her for her looks.
Half-breed. She could nearly hear the hateful term as they thought it. They considered her a lowly worker at best, prey and dumpster fodder at worst.
So I think it's safe to say the term half-breed is an insult because she is half human, half fae.
Yeah, and think about it, Cher.
Cher?
Yeah. She's got a song, and it's, you know, it's a banger, but it can't be anymore.
You can't do that no more. As she sits and waits, slowly getting drunk on expensive wine, Connor begins to text her. While he was being more goofy and sort of arrogant when they had the confrontation in their apartment earlier, now he's become more vulnerable with her via text.
I think it's worth it. You and me. Give us a shot. He added, I'm crazy about you. I don't want anyone else.
Swoon.
Oh man, especially when you're on a date with someone that is completely disregarding you and he just I
don't want anyone else is very sexy. She's beginning to melt a little when homeboy deigns to show up for their date. 45 minutes late. And that's a no from me, dog.
Yeah.
Without even a text.
Without a text.
Boy, bye.
Yeah, nah, don't deal with that shit, girl.
Speaking of Patrick Bateman, that's the impression I get from Reed.
Yes, very much so. A yucko.
From American Psycho, if that's not clear. Handsome but empty. Disregarding, just sort of like an empty shell of a handsome guy.
Yeah, so wrapped up in his own existence, he doesn't give a shit about Bryce and her
but also, like,
time or schedule.
Completely not interesting. Not a captivating person, never had to try because he was a rich kid.
He's rich, yes. I think that's the saddest part when you meet a really rich person when the only thing interesting, quote unquote, about them is that they're really rich. And it's like, you have all this money. And I know that doesn't necessarily mean you have the time to have a bunch of hobbies, but like, you should have some other things, right? Get a boat, I would assume, if I was really rich.
I think it's because they might have grown up in a life and a family that just didn't make them to make any. Hobbies come from passions and like effort. You know
You're
what I
right.
mean?
You're right.
And like learning comes from striving for stuff. And if you're just born into a family that's like, no, you're already special, don't worry about it, we have that money, just don't even, just here's a bank account, here's a credit card. I think sometimes that can just make you never become a person.
Right.
But that doesn't, not to say if you came from wealth you can't be interested, because plenty of rich kids are super interesting and talented and fun.
Yeah, because they're given that support, and that's awesome. And I love to see it. I feel like I never feel like, oh, I wish I had money when I see a really rich person that's like doing a bunch of shit. I'm just like, hell yeah, man, you go be that rich person.
Absolutely. I mean, you could even say that with with Maas. I don't think she's struggling growing up, but she became this very fascinating, cool, interesting person from the privileges that she had. Or whatever.
Yeah, and starting to write so young and wanting her stories to get out there when it's like, really, it seemed like she came from the kind of place where she probably didn't have to worry about getting a job necessarily, but she worked her ass off.
Yeah. But anyway, enough on old dumbass Reed. We've talked too much about him.
Yeah, get out of here, Reed.
She takes her assessment of the fit. He's physically fit, Reed, to acknowledge a bit of establishing information. So she's like looking him up and down and thinking to herself about how back whenever there were only humans on this earth, and we learned that factoid in that moment that their planet Midgard was only humans for a long time. It was
Where did all these veneer come from?
Well, so humans occupied the world, and then at some point in the past, something happened 15,000 years prior. Bryce called it the crossing in her mind, describing a rip in the very sky where the veneer poured through. And she thinks about how Reed's fit and how humans had to be fit because their only chance to not be completely killed by these veneer who showed up through the sky was to run.
Than them, yeah.
Run away. And, can I just say I'm ready for the rip in our world.
Why? You'd be immediately, literally ripped to shreds.
Nah, I want to see some phase.
If I was a veneer and I fell out of the sky like it was raining cats and dogs, I think I'd probably also be scared. I mean, I'd be scared enough to lash out.
You don't want to see some sexy Angel fall from the sky?
I'd do anything for it. Please, rip through it. Please, pour down from the sky. I just know that we're going to be the first to go, Natalie.
You and me?
Yep, specifically.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's going to be rough because we're going to be at the forefront being like, we accept you. We love you.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you
sure.
for coming. And then just like, we wanted to be a part of you.
That's the thing. We want it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, these veneer poured in from somewhere else that they don't know. No one on Midgard knows where they came from. And they've essentially invaded the human land. Before the rift that this happened 15 years prior, the time was called HE, Human Era, and then after VE for Veneer Era. There's actually
Which is interesting because there are still humans. So it's interesting that they call it the Veneer Era, where it's like, I mean,
humans kind of like old news after a bunch of shapeshifters show up and everything.
that are doing cool shit.
So there's actually a lot of background poured out through Bryce's thoughts right now. Some of it I'm going to hold off of because we're not going to need it yet. And it's just going to be like, wait, what?
It's just confusing, yes.
But there is thoughts going on about the guy Briggs is a part of this thing called the Human Rebellion. And there's a war raging on in this other territory in her world called Pangeran, which sounds a lot like Pangea to me. I don't know if that is intentional or not, which Pangea was like the original continent.
Yeah, when it was all one big goop.
One big old chunk of land together.
Yeah, skunk baby.
Skunk. Regardless, we can't reference anything out of Crescent City on the map in this book, and the Pangeran territory is outside of Crescent City. The war has been waging for 40 years between the Veneer and the humans, and is troubling to Bryce for many reasons, one of which is that one of her BFFs, Fury, is involved with it, though no one, not even Bryce, really knows what Fury does. some kind of mercenary.
God, isn't that hot? Again, one of those things I will never be described as is mysterious, and I love a sexy, mysterious character like Fury.
I can't either. I don't know how to be mysterious.
No. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Outside of Lunathian, we're going to wrap this up soon. I'm going to give you a little bit more background description, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. But outside of Lunathian, humans, this is important for the storyline, are much less accepted than inside the city walls. And even then, Bryce here still has a hard time. Even more so judged, perhaps, are people like her, the quote-unquote half-breeds. She notes in her thoughts that the half-human, half-fae females like her often end up in the sex trade in the seedy section of town known as the meat market, whether they wanted to or not. And Bryce, for what it's worth, had to choose allegiance between humans and fae, and she decided to choose fae allegiance because it gave her more protection. But she doesn't really like the fae very much. She'd rather be a person. She thinks people are better, like morally, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it seems like there's a lot to do with the fae that are very untrustworthy in this world, which is very different than the other two series as well, especially in the beginning. That I feel that I had not felt this kind of anti-fae sentiment as much. And it's interesting as time goes on and like of what time period in the history of how people feel about fae, just because like they don't understand them and they speak a language that a lot of people don't understand, and their weapons are better and their protections are better. And so, of course, you're scared of people that have that kind of power.
I mean, fair.
But I'd also align with that section of me.
Yeah.
Even if I hated Daddy.
Yeah.
Like, Faye will give me more magic.
I wanted magics.
Yes.
Give me magics. So she's thinking through all these things as she's kind of half staring at Reed, just like being disgusted by him. And as this is happening, she also is still getting texts from Connor and Danica. And Danica texts her saying, listen, give Connor a chance. And I think it's Danica, her encouragement, and the fact that Reed showed up so late. It seems to be the straws that broke the Reed's peen.
Whoa.
That doesn't make any sense.
I thought you were going to make it like the reed was being broken in half like a reed.
Like
but
that would make more sense.
Yeah,
right.
but let's break that peen in half too.
So that's it. She bails. She's like, bye-bye, Reed. I'm the fuck out of here. Enjoy your night or
Good
whatever.
for you, girl. I know it's difficult to bail on a date sometimes, especially when you're not paying for that date and especially when you don't have the money to pay for dinner yourself. And
But yeah, I mean, if you're on a
that.
date with that rich guy, fuck him. Let him pay for it.
Oh, yeah.
Also, she's got a big hunk waiting for her, so it's not probably that difficult for her.
At least like to go flirt with,
So she seems like she has turned the corner. We have come to a time in her life, because she's known Connor for years, where she's like, all right, I'm going to give Connor a chance. So it seems like we're watching the beginning of this relationship forming. She then walks off on Reed and decides to then call Fury and Juniper and make plans to meet them at their favorite hangout, the White Raven, which sounds awesome.
Yeah, dude.
It's an ancient temple ruins that has been converted into a nightclub.
And I'm not, a nightclub kind of gal, but if it was ancient ruins turned into a club, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, it sounds fun. She texts Connor that she'll agree to a date that Saturday. But if he's late, she's done.
Good for you, girl. Establish boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And it's most likely in response to the blatant disregard Reed just showed her.
Yes.
Connor is over the moon, and obviously he's not going to be late. He's like obsessed with her. And he tells her in text that she looked delicious when she left the apartment.
Oh my God.
Flirt much, Connor?
And also it's kind of scary because he's a wolf, so it's like also a little scary.
Oh my God, he's going to bite my arm off.
Oh my God.
She likes it.
Yeah.
So
Welcome to
should we stop here?
Yeah, let's stop here.
Let's stop here because we are about to get into a whole new section of learning a bunch of new information. Process all of what you've been told. I expect a book report from all of you.
No, we're the ones giving you the book report.
Oh, we are? Oh, I thought I was teaching them.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have to grade all their papers, which I don't really want to do, but
we're not going to rate them.
Someone's got to teach these kids.
Someone's gotta teach these kids.
Let's get out of here.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
For our next episode, please read until part 2, The Trench.